When I was 17 years old, I was in my first romantic relationship ever. And she wanted to have a family eventually, and she was kind of wanted to stick around that area where I grew up, and I had other desires, other intentions. I knew inside of me I really wasn't sure I wanted to have a family. I wasn't sure I wanted to stick around the Tidewater area. And you know, there was a bit of conflict between us. We had a lot of fun. It was very joyful, but it was also, we had a lot of arguments and stuff. And I went to my first Unity minister, Reverend Joyce Kramer, and I talked to her about this. And she was explaining to me, you know, Justin, relationships really should be harmonious. You know, I had the idea in my mind that, well, maybe God wanted us together. We were together 4 years. And I thought, well, maybe we should just work through this and just stick it out. And maybe God has some plan down the road. And she was, in some cases, that is necessary, especially, you know, depending on the situation. Well, Joyce was explaining to me, Justin, really should be harmonious. You know, she said, I know of couples where they let the relationship go, they let the other person go, and years down the road, they got back together. And she quoted Jesus. She said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And that gave me the courage to let go. It gave me the courage to say, okay, we can let this relationship go. And if we're meant to be together in the future, we'll come back together. And turns out she met someone, got married, had kids, has lived a beautiful family life. And I have no regrets at all in my own life and how I've lived it. Are there any changes in your life that you need to go with the flow of? Are there any things that you need to let go of in order to flow with the changes? Maybe in your personal work, maybe in a relationship, maybe having to do with your health, maybe in some other area of your life where you just need to flow with the change and you need to let go of something, trusting that it's all going to work together for good. That has a lot to do with the energy of the second chakra, the second energy center within us. As we've said, you have a physical body, you also have a spiritual anatomy, an energy body. In that energy body are 7 energy centers, what are called chakras, which is a Sanskrit word that means wheel of energy. In fact, the symbol on the flag of India is of a chakra. It's a symbol of a chakra. Gandhi helped determine that symbol because it's also a wheel, and you know they had spinning wheels in India, and Gandhi wanted people to get back to simplicity in life and to use the spinning wheel to produce simplicity. But he also knew the spiritual meaning of that wheel. So we have these wheels of energy inside of us, and we want the energy to flow upward. We want the energy to flow freely through these energy centers, these chakras. And we said the first energy center is the root chakra, and the element is the earth, And when that energy is flowing well and healthfully in that chakra and moving up to the next chakra, you are firm, you're steadfast, you are steady, you're dependable, you're reliable, and you move forward with your life. When it's expressed in a negative way, you can become dogmatic, you can become opinionated, you can become stuck, you can become so attached to the earth, the solidity of the earth and what you can touch and feel and see, that you can become bigoted and not flow with change at all. The second chakra, the energy of the next chakra, which is 1.5 inches above the root chakra is at the base of the spine, the second chakra is 1.5 inches up. It controls the reproductive organs. It controls sexual energy. It controls that energy that is here to propagate, to expand the species. And when that energy is flowing properly, you flow with change. You flow with change. When that energy is flowing properly and healthfully, you're adaptable. You're creative. That energy wants to expand, just like it wants to expand the species. It wants to expand your creativity. It wants to expand with life. It wants to be flexible and to adapt and to be able to discern with intuition and wisdom. How many of you are interested in some of those qualities of the second chakra that are inside of you? You want it to flow healthily. But when it's expressed negatively, when it's not flowing properly, then you are flowing too much with change. When you don't have the energy of the root chakra, which is that steady, steadfast, firm energy, and you're too much of the water element, that's what the second chakra is, the water element that flows, you can become wishy-washy. This person can be wishy-washy. You can't depend on them. Become indecisive. Become wishy-washy. You know anybody like that? Can't make decisions. They make plans and cancel them. Right? That's the second chakra that is not flowing healthfully. And you want the energy of the first chakra to flow up to the second chakra. You want the energy of the second chakra to flow up to the third chakra so that you are able to be flowing with change, have discrimination in your life, wisdom, be able to have a sense of humor with your life. So let's talk about some of those attitudes that we can develop the second chakra energy so that we can flow with change. We already said, what areas do you need to flow with change in your own life, you know? And so one way is to see yourself like a surfer. See yourself flowing with change like a surfer. Any of you ever been surfing? It's not easy, right? It's not easy to do. I saw one hand go up. I tried it once. It's tough. It's tough. Plus, they got sharks out there. But, you know, real surfers don't care about the sharks. Well, you know, what is a surfer? A surfer goes with the flow of the waves in the ocean, right? They're going with the flow. They can't go, oh, no, not a wave. I don't want a wave. No, that's a big wave. I don't want a big wave. Or, no, they just flow with what's happening, right? And then when they want the board to move, they angle their body or whatever, use the water and move to the next position. And then they move this way. And then, you know, if the wave crashes them and they crash, oh, well, they go with that, right? They flow with the change. And that's kind of what we need to do in life, don't we? We need to be adaptable. Because as the ancient philosopher Heraclitus said, all is flux. All is change. That's the one constant other than God. Change, isn't it? Our bodies change. Our bodies grow older. I don't care how much Botox or filler you get. I don't care what kind of lifting's going on here and there. You still get older, right? Still get older. I was somewhere, I saw a poster of an actress from the 80s, and I'm like, oh, wow, look how she used to be, and look. We all get older, the body changes, it happens, and relationships change, people leave sometimes, people die sometimes, right? That's part of life, isn't it? People get sick. Accidents happen for people. I'm not saying we go around fearing all that, but we do acknowledge that it happens. Changes are going on all the time. And it's wisdom, it's spiritual wisdom to embrace that life is full of change. And I need to have the ability to be able to flow with the changes that happen in life. Jobs end, jobs you like, jobs you love, come to an end. People get fired, businesses close. It's part of life. It happens. Life happens, doesn't it? Second chakra energy is being able to adapt like the surfer. Okay, here we ride this wave. All right, now we're going to ride that wave. Let's get back up on the board and paddle out again and catch the next wave. Second chakra energy of adaptability, flowing with the changes that happen in life. And then the second chakra energy has to do with also combined with the root chakra of being steadfast and firm. I think one way that we can develop the second chakra energy is learning to keep commitments to ourselves and to others. Right? A commitment to yourself. Do you have any commitments to yourself that you said, I'm going to do this? You wonder how many of you have commitments to yourself? What are some of those commitments that you have to yourself? Anybody? What's the commitment you have? Those of you online, if you have a commitment to yourself, put it in the chat. Maybe someone's like, well, I'm going to walk 10 minutes a day. You know, or I'm going to exercise 3 times a week. Or I'm going to start drinking more water. You know, what are some of your commitments that you have for yourself? Anybody care to share? Exercise. How much? 6 times a week? Wow, that is quite a commitment. I'm just going to put exercise up here. That is a great commitment. Good for you. Good for you. Any other commitments to yourself? Yes. Finish your book. Good. Now, you know, that's part of it too, right? That's a commitment, and that's a project that you're doing. Finish the book. Online, we have someone who wants to declutter. Anybody have any clutter around the house? Yeah, declutter. Declutter. Yeah, good. Those are good. Commitments, projects that are just sitting around, right? Anybody else? How are you in keeping those commitments to yourself? Because if you don't keep the commitment to yourself, how can you keep it to other people? Right? If you're not keeping a commitment to yourself, don't you feel that on some level? You know it, don't you? We know it when we're not doing it. We don't feel good. It's like if you don't brush your teeth. You don't feel good, right? You're like, I didn't brush my teeth this morning. If you're lucky enough to have teeth. You know, I didn't brush my teeth. Well, when you don't keep commitments to yourself, part of you knows it, right? And it just detracts from your sense of well-being in some way. And one suggestion with projects that haven't taken off, you haven't completed, look at it, make a list of your projects and decide which ones you're just not going to do. You ever do that? You're just not going to do it. Decide, you know what? I'm not doing that. That's one of the quickest ways to get a project done. Just get it off your list. Right? I'm not really, you know, it's a nice idea. It sounds good. It'd be nice to do that. But I'm just not going to do it. I'm never going to learn to play the piano. You know, or whatever it is. Just cross it off the list. Now you free yourself up and be sure that the commitments you make to yourself you really, really want to make. Right? Don't make a commitment to yourself that you're going to do something that you're really not going to do. Right? Be clear. This is something I really want to do for myself. I really want to do. Be clear on why you want to do it. Saving money, getting rid of debt, whatever it might be. Be clear. This is definitely something I want to do. I'm going to make a commitment to do it. Then practice doing it. That's second chakra and first chakra energy working together, right? learning to keep commitments to yourself, learning to keep commitments to other people. Where we say we're going to do something, then do we follow through and do it? A lot of people nowadays, it seems to me, make commitments that they have no intention of following through on. Maybe that's just in the shops these days. You know, you ever talk to someone on the telephone? Oh yeah, right away, we'll take care of that right away. Never gets done. Never even hear from them again, right? Anybody have that experience? But more importantly, in our personal relationships, we say we're going to do it. Do we do it? Do we follow through? Now, of course, sometimes things come up, you know, but you address it and you go, look, I know I said I was going to do this, but such and such is going on. Let's make a different plan on this, or let's make different arrangements. Following through, keeping commitments. That's integrity. That's integrity. That's wholeness. The word integrity coming from wholeness. That's integrity. I do what I say I'm going to do. The yogis say that that's also honesty, isn't it? You say what you're going to do and you do it. That's a type of honesty. The yogis say when you're honest in your words, you gain power, spiritual power, being honest. I just hate the words, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to be there. Whenever I hear someone say, I'm going to try to be there, I'll try to do it. You know what that means to me? You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Forget about it. You're not going to do it. I'll try to be there. No, you don't try to be there. You don't try to be there. You remember what Yoda said? You know, Luke was trying, I think it was Luke. Luke was trying to raise a spaceship from the swamp, and he says, I'll try to do it. And Yoda says, no, you do not try. You do or do not. You do it or you don't do it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there, period. Now, if you know you got a connecting flight and the flight might not be on time, then you say, look, the flight's going to be in this time. I'm planning to be there. If something happens to the flight, you know. But otherwise, you're going to do it. I'm going to be there. Decide what you want to do and whether you really want to make that commitment. And if you make the commitment, then commit and do it. That's how we develop second chakra energy balanced with the first chakra energy. Developing that flowing with change, but also following through with commitments. And guess what? That's how you become dependable. That's how you become trustworthy. I'm amazed by the people who are late for stuff and they expect to be hired again to do things. You know, they're late, they don't show up, blah, 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 and they expect everyone to just not pay attention. And yeah, sure, we want you back. It's not how it works, is it? It's a quality of the second chakra. So, being adaptable, flowing with change, learning to keep commitments to yourself and other people. And it's challenging. We're going to fail. We do fail. We have to readjust our priorities, our commitments, our, projects, and so on. And then developing discrimination, true discrimination. True discrimination is the ability to be able to see people and situations as they are. Not as we want them to be, not as we wish they were, not as we would like them to be. That's what happens in relationships so much, right? We project our ideal onto another person. We think, oh, they're my idea, right? We project onto stuff. Our ego gets in the way. And second chakra energy is learning to discriminate, not to judge people, not to make people wrong, not to disrespect people, but to see their mistakes, to see their behaviors, and be able to distinguish the person from their behavior. You know, you've heard it in the old church of love the sinner but hate the sin, right? Learn it. I don't like the hate the sin idea. I don't think that does any good. But to love the person independent of their behavior, right? Everybody's growing. Everybody's in a different place. Being able to love the person and separate that love from their behavior. Now, that's something different that we don't see a lot in our culture these days, do we? We see people wanting to what is it? Cancel individuals. You know, you make a mistake and you're canceled. You're canceled. Well, discrimination is not judging the person, but learning from their behaviors, right? People make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We all do things. And guess what? The rest of us can learn from their mistakes, can't we? How many times have you learned from somebody else's mistakes? You know, I mean, I had an older brother and an older sister, so I could sit back and watch. Well, that didn't work too well with Dad. You know, that's not going to work with Mom or whatever. You know, you learn from other people's mistakes. When you read the newspaper or watch it online and you see what some of the stupid stuff people do, and you're like amazed, right? I'm like amazed. Haven't you learned that lesson already? You're not going to get away with that. Someone's going to find out. You know, it's just not going to end well for you. We learn by watching other people's mistakes, and that's called discrimination. That's learning. And it's learning to not keep making the same mistakes also, isn't it? Solomon prayed that God would give him understanding. He could have had anything. He could have prayed for anything. He prayed for understanding. Discrimination. And you know the story, 2 women, he was a judge, 2 women came to him. They were arguing over whose baby the baby belonged to. They were both fighting over the same baby. And Solomon, with his root and chakra energy flowing freely and positively, he had discrimination. He had wisdom. And he said, I got an idea. We'll cut the baby in half and each of you will get a half of the baby. And one of the ladies said, no, she can have the baby. It's hers. She can have the baby. Well, he knew who the real mother was. He had discrimination, the ability to discern, right? The ability to discern. We need that, don't we? We need that in relationships. There are some people you love, but you just know you're just not a match in a relationship. You've been there, you've done it, you've gotten the trophy or whatever it is. You know what's going to happen there, right? You've been there. You're like, no, I've been down that road before, and it's over now. You learn, you discriminate. You can love a person and know you're not a good match in a relationship, right? And the same is true in business. Stephen M.R. Covey, the son of Stephen Covey, he wrote a book called The Speed of Trust, and he talked about 2 business partners. They were good friends, and they went into business together. And one of the friends pulled some shenanigans and tried to take over the company and all kinds of crazy stuff. And he ended up, you know, they got rid of him out of the business. And yet they had been old friends, so they forgave each other. They reestablished their friendship. And years down the road, the other friend who had caused all the problems in the business came back and said, you know, I got a great business idea. I'd love for you to go in with me on this. And he said, look, I'm happy to be your friend, but I will not go into business with you. Discrimination. Discernment. He was able to love his friend, but he also had the discrimination and wisdom. I'm not going to go into business with you again. Been there, done that, won that, what is it, trophy? Right? Been there, done that. Discrimination, second chakra, learning to discriminate, learning to see people and things as they are, to learn from their mistakes and foibles, as well as our own, of course, and to make choices based with discrimination. And with discrimination comes a sense of humor. Sense of humor. Right? Yogananda, the great sage, heard a bunch of his students talking about the foibles of others, and they were, you know, upset by it. Yogananda said, why are you upset by it? God has a sense of humor too. This is God's zoo. This is God's zoo. For those of you who live in New York City, it's a little easier to embrace that idea, huh? This is God's zoo. God has a sense of humor. You might have read the Pope just invited 100 comedians from around the world to meet with him. I think it was Friday. And, you had Chris Rock and a lot of Stephen Colbert and writers and other people met with the Pope. And one of the things the Pope said was, it's okay to make jokes about God, just don't be offensive. And the irony of that is the Pope said something potentially offensive in the in the middle of that in the middle of that group. He made some comment about women, women are gossipy or something like that. Great, don't be offensive, and he just offended population. Now, some of us would be going, Justin, you're talking about the Pope. It's the point we're making. Discrimination and having a sense of humor. I love the Pope. I respect the Pope. I respect his position. But it was ironic that he's telling them don't be offensive, and then he said something offensive. Right? I mean, people are funny. We're funny. We're ridiculous in some ways, aren't we? It's been said, if you can laugh at yourself, you always have something to laugh about. It's true. It's true. There's always something to laugh about. And having a sense of humor is learning and discriminating. There is a reality greater than this world. God, presence and activity, that's the real truth. That's the real truth. And every person is created in the image and likeness of God. I can love people, but I can also laugh with them. Right? I can laugh at some of the ridiculousness of human beings as part of the fun of it. Donald Walters was with Yogananda watching a one-man play. And the man was, I think he was singing and he was dancing. He was playing the part of a dying deer as well as a hunter. So he's playing both parts. And Donald Walters and Yogananda thought it was so ridiculous, they could barely contain their laughter. I mean, they were laughing under their breath. And at one point, Donald Walters let out too much of a laughter, and Yogananda was, no, don't laugh, no. When I was in high school, we went to a Latin convention. I was in the Latin club, and we went to a Latin convention in Richmond, Virginia, and it was so boring. I could not contain myself. It was just so dry. Anyway, this man acting out a dying deer and a hunter, and Yogananda, they were just laughing. And then afterwards, the man came to Yogananda. He was very upset because the person controlling the curtain had lowered the curtain on his act during the victory dance. It was going on so long that the guy with the curtain wanted to save the audience. And so the man was upset. And Yogananda, he loved the man. He thought his play was ridiculous and he was laughing. But he wasn't laughing in the man's face. And he felt compassion for the man. He's like, yes, I understand. He could love the man and yet at the same time enjoy the ridiculousness of what was going on. I mean, have you laughed at yourself lately? Or are you too important to laugh at? Are you too sophisticated to laugh at yourself? Have you lost the ability to laugh? Jesus said, if you want to experience the kingdom of God, you got to be like a child. You got to be like a child. Children are laughter. They're full of joy. They're full of this life. And, the same is meant for us. Look at some of the great spiritual sages. They have a sense of humor. The Dalai Lama, right? Full of laughter. Yogananda played practical jokes. Charles Fillmore loved a good joke. In fact, sometimes he would tell a little racy joke, and Myrtle Fillmore would like, Charles, going down the wrong path there. So this is the second chakra, energy. Going with the flow of change, being adaptable, learning to have a sense of discrimination about yourself and other people, learning from their mistakes, learning from your own mistakes, trying to see people in life as it is, not the way you want it to be or wish it would be, but as it is. And being open to the flow of divine guidance and intuition, and having a sense of humor, learning that you can love people and also enjoy the ridiculousness that exists on the planet. It's not meant to everybody's serious and everybody's doing it the way it's supposed to be done. No, it's God's zoo, and God is laughing also. And that's okay. That's a good thing. Laughter, the merry heart doeth good like a medicine, as Proverbs says. You know, and there's another great psalm that says, he who sits in the heavens laughs. In other words, when you have a high perspective, a 20,000-foot perspective, you can laugh. You can laugh. You can laugh at yourself. You can laugh at situations. You can have a good sense of humor. So let's take a moment now. We're going to stimulate the first and second chakras. We're going to get that energy flowing up. We're going to do a little visualization and an affirmation. So let's bring our attention now to the base of the spine, the root chakra, the root energy center. And we're going to use that beautiful Sanskrit sound of Om, which is the same for the mother aspect of God, the Holy Spirit, the creative aspect. And at the root chakra, we now say in our mind, Om, 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 Om. Om, 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 Om. Now imagine the energy of the root chakra now flowing up, that firmness, steadfastness, determination flowing to the second chakra, which is about 1.5 inches up. And at the second chakra, we again, Om, 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 Om. And now see yourself like a river or a stream. Imagine that you are a stream flowing through the mountains, say, and you're flowing through, you're passing by rocks and sticks and animals and people, and you're just flowing around this mountain or wherever you are, and you're unattached to anything. You're touching lots of stuff, but you're unattached. You're flowing, and you're flowing out to the sea, out to the ocean, and becoming one with that ocean. And you, with the energy of the second chakra, are flowing with spirit, flowing with truth. I flow ever freely with the tides of spirit. I flow ever freely with the tides of spirit. Together, I flow ever freely with the tides of spirit. Again, I flow ever freely with the tides of spirit. We thank you, Father, Mother God, for your qualities that are expressing in and through and as us. Thank you for guiding us and helping us to express more fully and completely that which we are capable of. Thank you for helping us to have a sense of humor in our life, to flow with the changes of life, knowing that you are in charge and that everything is working together for good. Everything is working together for our good. And so it is. Amen.